Hey, BBN, this is Carrie from Girls Beer Sports. After you finish listening to Jay and JD wax poetic about all things Kentucky, join me and my co-hosts Sarah and Lauren for a conversation about beer and sports and whatever else, because it's our show and we do what we want. New episode every Tuesday, wherever good podcasts are free. And of course, follow us on all the social media platforms. See ya!
We don't take shit from the
You're gonna hate me because I come to your town and we beat your team.
You're now tuned in to one of the realest sports podcasts for Kentucky basketball.
3 in the air, good again!
And football.
The Kentucky defense steps up again.
Just an opinionated Kentucky sports fan podcast.
Maybe it's a Kentucky accent.
With Jay Hayes and JD Hall. Woo! This is what we do.
Let's go!
Religiously Kentucky.
Big Blue Nation, what is up? I'm your guy, Jay Hayes, and he is
his voice of reason, JD Hall.
And we are Religiously Kentucky. What is up, man? College basketball yesterday.
Crazy.
Was, it was, I watched the whole day and couldn't believe it, but some things that happened, I was like, yes. And and I'm like, oh, of course, our team, Kentucky, falls, and we'll get to that. Right. But it was just a crazy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 9 of the top 10 lost.
It was a historic day.
Yeah.
In college basketball, because 7 of the top 10 had never lost in the same day ever before.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was crazy what happened yesterday. And you go to the late game where you got Gonzaga against St. Mary's, and everybody is expecting Gonzaga to win. No, but everybody's expecting Gonzaga to win that game because that's what Gonzaga wins their games in the WCC.
Yeah.
But they were from the start. Like, I didn't watch that whole game. I didn't turn it on. Game. I was kind of following it on Twitter a little bit, looking at it on Gamecast. Sitting there with my wife watching some shows on TV, whatever. Right. But I turned it over there and watched the second half, and like St. Mary's was the better team last night. Yeah. They played better, like they were more efficient everywhere on the floor
from beginning to end.
And every time Gonzaga made a little run to cut it to 8 or 7 or 6 or whatever, right, St. Mary's responded. You had that they had that big guy with the funky form. Like, I couldn't, like, seeing him shoot is like, man, how did you get a D1 scholarship?
Right.
But he kept shooting and shooting and shooting, and he was missing and missing and missing. And then he hit 2 back to back.
Yeah.
To push that lead back up to 10 points, back up to 12 points. Or back up to 9 points was the second one. So, I mean, he hit 2 huge threes when it really mattered. And, like, it just goes to tell you what can happen on any given day, especially on the road in college basketball, because I think every one of the losses, they were on the road.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's crazy. And, I mean, going into March Madness, it's just going to be wild.
Right.
It's going to be lit. And I'm here for it. But let's go back to the beginning of last week. Kentucky versus LSU. Of course, Kentucky wins, beating LSU at home 71-66.
Mm-hmm.
Just a few stats for the game before we get into the conversation of this game. But Kentucky went 23 of 49 from the field, 2 of 12 from three-point land, 23 of 32 from the free throw line, and out-rebounded LSU 36-24 with 12 turnovers in that game.
Right.
Again, without Severe Willer and Ty Washington.
And that became really evident there at the end of the game. That last 3-4 minutes where that 15-point lead got whittled down to, I believe it got all the way down to 4. But you could see how gassed Kellen Grady and Davion Mintz were at the end of that game.
Right.
And anybody that listens to this, if you stayed after that game to watch the radio show and the interview with Kellen Grady and you saw him walk out to his seat, you would understand just how much and how hurt he was. Like, not like as far as injury, but how much pain he was in from just the banging in the minutes that he's been playing.
Yeah.
You know, it's finally kind of caught up to him a little bit. He almost looked like he was going to cry. That was the pain on his face. And the entire interview with Mike Pratt, he's there rubbing out his legs, his quad, his hamstring, his calf, like everything, like the entire interview.
Yeah. For those that don't know, JD drove to the game, watched the game, stayed over, watched the radio show, then drove all the way back home. And what is it, about 5-hour drive?
About 4 hours. I got home. I pulled into my dad's driveway right about 5 a.m., just before 5.
Pulled an all-nighter.
Yeah, it was. And we would have been back about 4, but we hit snow on the way back. So, I had to slow down. Couldn't drive quite as fast. Had to stay in one lane because only one of the lanes was clear. But you could see at the end of that game just how gassed Kellen was. Like, even during the game when he got that ball stripped from him at half court, he just laid there on the floor. Like, he was given everything the last 2 games with Severe and Ty being out. Right. So it finally caught up to him, and it caught up to the team at the end of that game, because that press is a very physical press. Yeah. They're up in your face, they're trapping. I also think the inbounder was trying way too hard to force the ball into Grady, and if he wasn't open for a pass, they didn't know what to do. They were like scared to throw it anywhere else. Especially it got down to 3 seconds in the game, and they're still trying to just throw it down the floor. If they catch it in the backcourt, who cares? They're not gonna get a shot up to tie or win or anything. You're up 4 points, so it's not gonna change the outcome of the game. Just throwing it down the floor, and if your guy gets it, great. If they get it, game over too. So it doesn't really matter. But I think it also showed the fight in this team going down 13 in the first half against that defense. The fight that this team has and how good they are.
Right.
Because they were able to
next man up.
Right. Because you're down 13 in that first half, and you stretch that lead back out to 17, or was it 11? Whatever it was in the first half.
Right.
But you stretch that lead out to 15, that's a 25, 26, 27-point turnaround, depending on what the first half deficit was. But it shows you when this team locks in.
Yeah.
And because that was the theme of the beginning of the game. Like, defensively, they weren't locked in. There were some mistakes on switches, late closeouts. LSU started 5 out of 7 from 3 in the game. I think they finished the game 4 for 16 or something like that. 4 for bad. It was like they finished the game bad, and 3 of those threes came in that last minute when they hit 3 threes. So defensively, this is a really good team. And I did see a tweet. I think it was Jeff Borzello tweeted out that talking about Kentucky's defensive efficiency and how in the last 4 games, I think they were average, they're 236th in the country. Well, you're going to have that when you're missing your 2 primary, backcourt players in Severe Ty, who are probably 2 of your best on-ball defenders as well. So you lose that aggressiveness that you get from them defending on the ball,
right?
Because they are better than Grady and Davion on ball defending. But Davion and Grady worked their asses off on defense too. So I'm not worried about the defense now that we've got them back. Everything's gonna settle in. But throughout that game, I had to keep telling my dad during the first half, like, dude, they're not gonna keep shooting this way. They shoot 31% on the year from 3 for a reason.
Yeah.
A team that shoots that bad from 3, that starts out that hot, is not going to keep shooting that good.
Right.
It's going to change. Oscar did his thing, 17 and 16, what we've come to expect from him. Grady didn't hit a 3, but he scored 13 points, and he had 5 straight there to push that lead to 15, I believe. and kind of opened it up and really ended the game when he pushed that lead to 15. I know it got cut down to 4 or whatever, but if LSU doesn't get desperate, that doesn't happen either. So, and we got a ton of foul shots in that game because LSU fouls. That's what they do. And we could have gotten a ton more if they'd have kept calling the fouls, because the travel they called on Davion, he was fouled before he traveled. The steal that I referenced about Grady laying on the ground, he got bodied up and was fouled on that steal. So there were, like, in the last 2 minutes, there's probably 5 or 6 foul calls that they didn't make.
Right. Yeah, and we shot 32.
And the game doesn't get down to 4 points if they don't swallow the whistle.
Yeah.
Because now you're calling fouls on the other end, on touch fouls on Penson when he was driving to the basket for layups and stuff like that. Like, yeah, it's about consistency. We always say that.
Right.
Be consistent. If you're calling the fouls throughout the game, keep calling those same
both
fouls.
ends. Yeah, both ends.
And call it both ends. Call it the same way. But I was happy with what I saw from the team Wednesday. Yeah. So, or was it Tuesday? Hell, I don't know.
Tuesday, Wednesday, same day.
Whenever. I don't know. By the time I got home, it was the next day anyway. So
right.
I was happy with what I saw from the team because, like I said, Grady didn't hit any threes, but he found other ways to contribute and score points, which we haven't seen from him. So that was good.
A lot of fight, and like I mentioned, next man up, Bryce Hopkins.
There you go.
What a game! He came in and he was on a mission. Yeah.
So, and that's what, like, if you're a player for Cal, if you're that 8th, 9th, 10th player for Cal, you're not going to get a lot of playing time. It's just the way that it is. And that 7th guy is usually going to rotate between whoever's performed best in practice or whoever gives the best matchup for the game. Because your top 6 is pretty well solidified, with Grady being not Grady, but Davion being that 6th guy off the bench.
Right.
And then, sometimes the 7th guy is Lance coming in from Oscar. Sometimes it's Damian Collins coming in from Oscar. It might be Bryce Hopkins coming in for Keon. It might be, whatever. Well, I'd say it's 8th guy because your top 7 is pretty solidified with Toppin and Mintz.
Right.
But that 8th guy, you never know who it's going to be coming in. It could be any one of those other 3. And it might even be Dante sometimes. But you've got to, that's a testament to staying ready. And when you get the opportunity, not letting the moment be too big. Because I think at times Bryce Hopkins was playing too fast. He was trying to force some things when he would get in there. Right. And that caused him to create some turnovers and miss shots or whatever. And in the LSU game, he kind of let the game come to him.
Right.
He had that bad turnover on a pass early when he came in. I think it was in the first half. Might have been in the second half. And I think that was maybe the one bad decision that he made. Was on that turnover. So if you don't get his 13 points, the game turns out completely different. If you don't have his energy in the first half, and during that run in the second half that ultimately gave us the lead and for good, you probably end up losing that game.
Yep.
So he was huge for the outcome of that game.
Right. Next man up, be ready. Force Cal to play you more.
Right.
I mean, and I love this team. And then we got to go on the road to a hostile environment, great environment. Arkansas, we talked about that earlier, several episodes back, that Arkansas could be in the conversation of best fan bases above Auburn.
A long way. Yeah, above Auburn and Tennessee. I mean, they're probably the second best fan base as far as basketball knowledge in the SEC.
Right.
Yeah. So
I agree totally. And they showed out. All like I said, great atmosphere. Kentucky going in. What did you think about this game? It started out
pretty awful. Going down 15-2. But I had the same conversation I think we've had on here. Losing that game wasn't going to affect really anything.
Right.
All it was going to change was SEC standings, right?
Right.
You know, where you're seated at. You're still tied with two other teams for that second spot. It just comes down to tiebreakers, right? So ultimately that game for the NCAA isn't going to mean anything because we were number 2 or number 3 in the Ken Palm going into that game. We're number 2 coming out of it.
Right.
You know, so but it's you know, kind of the same theme that we've seen from them the last 3 games, where you start out slow, other team comes out hot, hits you in the mouth,
right,
and then you fight back. We got Ty and Severe back for that game, and you could see the rust that they were working off in the first half.
Rusty, right?
Severe comes in and back-to-back possessions turns the ball over with just terrible passes. Ty just couldn't hit anything; like his shot was off. And I think that injury to his ankles affected him the last few games because he hasn't been able to really shoot too well since he injured that ankle at all. Right. His shooting percentage has dropped pretty tremendously. But they settled in and played well the final 18 minutes
as well. On top of that, you know,
right? That, you know, if you can't go out there and shoot and practice because your ankle, your shot's gonna suffer.
Right.
But I mean, Oscar, I mean, what is there to say about Oscar other than he cemented his spot as National Player of the Year?
National Player of the Year.
With that game. You know, JD Note came out just hitting everything, making everything he put up. And
it was
that, I mean, that was another thing. Like I told my dad about the LSU game. Same thing in the Arkansas game, that JD Note wasn't going to continue to make some of those shots he was making in the first half. And he didn't. He still ended up with 30 points, right?
Yeah.
But like everything he put up in the first half was going in. Some of those crazy shots in the second half didn't go in.
Right.
Kentucky, I think, shot 33% from the field in the first half. In that game, 33%, 11 for 33. In the second half, we came out and shot 19 for 33 for 57.6%. So there was a big turnaround in that second half once Ty and Severe got settled in.
Right.
I think they combined 22 points in the final 18 minutes. And that's what you want from your starting backcourt. That's what you expect from them. You know, I talked about the minutes and the pounding that the guards took with those two out. That kind of reared its head in this game.
Right. Grady couldn't get open to shoot.
With Toppin, Grady, and Mintz, none of them were able to play at the same level that they've been playing at. Right. And when you're playing 40 minutes a game in Division I, especially in the SEC, with as physical and athletic as all these players are that you're going against, those minutes are going to catch up to you.
Yeah.
And they finally caught up to them and impacted the game to making it a loss. Whereas like in LSU, it impacted Grady not being able to shoot as well, you know, going 0 for 5 from 3. And some turnovers at the end of that game. Yeah. But in this game, it impacted just the overall outcome of the game. Yeah. But they showed that fight again. They showed that fight.
Showed a lot of fight.
That they're not going to quit. You know, Keon Brooks was huge. He had 14 points. I think he had 8 rebounds. So let me see, 6 rebounds. Right? 5 rebounds. Jesus, if I can find it here. So he had 14 points, 5 rebounds, 32 minutes. He was 7 for 13 from the floor. You know, a lot
of people come out and was like, "Oh, that's a shot you don't want Keon taking."
No, and that's what I was getting at.
They're late, right?
Like you saw a lot of Keon Brooks hate over the last last couple of minutes of that game.
Yeah,
the last couple of minutes of that game didn't lose the game. Going down 15-2 in the first half and being down 13 points in the first half, when you're trying to work back your starting guards, is what ultimately lost the game because that hole was just too big for them to dig out of. Right. Yes, I know that they got the lead in the second half and went up by 4. but you expend a lot of energy coming back against a good team on the road like that.
Right. In a crazy environment.
And it's gonna catch up to you. It's gonna affect you towards the end of the game. If you don't stretch that 4-point lead out to 8 or 10 to where you can start now getting a little bit more comfortable and not having to, I don't know, be as aggressive on offense and on defense. Like you can play more safe on defense and not pressure as much. Just, play solid, sound defense and not have to create turnovers and fight as hard to do that. Now, I'm not saying you stop playing and you lay back and you let them get if you take it that way, you're not understanding what I'm saying.
Right.
But to get from a 13-point deficit to a 4-point lead takes a lot of energy on both ends of the floor. That once you get a lead and you stretch that back out, that you don't have to necessarily expend as much energy to force things. And Keon Brooks was a huge reason of why they were able to make that comeback.
Yep.
Is Keon Brooks the guy that you necessarily want taking that shot? If you can choose anybody on the team to take that shot? No. But guess what?
That's the simple part that people say. You know what I'm saying? Like they want to pick and choose the simple part of who you put the ball in the ball into the hands of whoever.
Right.
They want to like the simple part.
Right. And why was Keon open? It was because if you look, I believe they doubled Grady off that play. So yeah, Keon was going to be open. But that's a shot I want Keon taking.
He steps into that shot and makes it a lot.
Yes. I get it. He's only made 6 threes on the year.
Yeah.
But you still want him taking that type of three. It doesn't matter if it's with 15 minutes to go or if with a minute to go.
Right.
I still want Keon confident enough to take that shot.
Right. And I don't mind Toppin taking that shot either.
Right. If we're talking about our 4 guys, Bryce Hopkins, Jacob Toppin, and Keon Brooks, that's the type of three that I want them taking.
Right. Where
you're stepping into the 3 or a corner 3. Those are the only 2 threes I want them taking. I don't want them taking some crazy step back 3 or anything like that. We've talked about it. Coming down the floor, you're the trail guy on the break. They drop it off to you. You step into that 3, take it if it's open.
Yep.
A paint touch, like we got on that play with Severe Wheeler getting into the paint and kicking it back out to Brooks. And off an offensive rebound with Oscar throwing it back out to you. Those are the type of 3-point shots you want those guys taking. Now, like I said, you don't draw that play up. If you can choose anybody on the team to shoot that shot, you're not choosing Keon Brooks.
Right.
I get that. I understand that. That's not the point. The point is that was not a bad shot by Keon Brooks.
Right.
Because
people go argue.
You can draw a play up for however you want. But that doesn't mean the defense is going to let that play work out exactly how you want it to.
That don't mean you get that play.
Right. So there are always options on plays. So if your first and your second option are taken away, you go to your third option. And Keon was probably the third option on that play.
Right.
The first option might be Severe driving all the way to the basket for a layup. Yeah. Second option, if you get into the paint and Grady's open, that's who you go to. Third option, right here. Like, it's not that hard to understand if you understand basketball.
Well, people want the simple.
Right. They want to shit on a kid because I don't know why, honestly. I was trying to think of a reason. I don't know why.
Because they think that their basketball IQ is through the roof and they know everything about the sport. And
but it's not. Like people, the same people complaining about Keon Brooks taking that 3-point shot are the same people that complain when he takes one dribble inside the 3-point line to shoot it.
Right. And the same
you can't have it both ways.
Up on the dumbest shit from Twitter this week.
You can't have it both ways. You can't want him to take that 3 and not dribble in one dribble and shoot.
Exactly.
Or not wanting to take that 3 and wanting to dribble in one step and shoot the ball. You can't have it both ways. So that didn't upset me at all.
Not me either.
There were some missed calls early in the game and in the second half that led to points. Like, and It might have been in the second half. JD Note laying on the ground, rolling around with the ball.
Yeah.
With possession.
Right.
No travel.
Right.
Another play people were pointing out with Keon Brooks was that rebound. Well, he got fouled. That's how the ball came loose. Whoever it was from Arkansas hit his arm and knocked it off the ball, and it came loose. So yeah, he's like that ball is going to come loose. It's not, and I think they ended up getting a 3-point shot out of that. But to say the last 3 minutes or last minute or whatever
that
was all Keon Brooks' fault and was the reason that they lost. Those are the people that you like. They just want to find something to complain about Keon Brooks for.
Yeah,
because you didn't see a whole lot of Keon Brooks hate during that game up until that point, did you?
No, not at all.
So they got their chance to come out and shit on KB, and they took full advantage of it.
Right. Well, they all had a play drew up that they wanted to run.
Right. And it was 100% going to get it was 100% going to get Grady open.
Yeah. 100%.
Grady kind of fell back into that role that we had seen with Ty and Severe out there, where he just kind of stands around and runs around the baseline, and as soon as he gets the ball, if he's not open, he passes it back. Like he went back into that mold. Where
I should have knew after the episode where I talked about I wanted him to take more shots.
Mm-hmm.
I should have known. I should have known that he wasn't going to get those shots.
But to blame Cal for that, like I saw it on Facebook today. Cal needs to have Grady running off screens. Like, are you watching the fucking games? That's all Grady does all game long is run off screens, whether it's off the baseline, off pin down screens. Like he's running off screens the entire freaking game.
Comedy.
Like it's at some point it's up to the player to be aggressive when he gets the ball and make a play.
Create a shot.
And create a shot, because we've seen Grady is able to create his own shot.
Right.
And he doesn't need a whole lot of space to get a shot off. They've got to respect your driving ability.
Right.
Because he's shown that in the last couple of games that he can do that.
Right.
So if you pump fake, you can drive around, 2 dribbles to a pull-up. Or you attack them with a dribble and get to the lane.
Right.
Or do a step back. Like we saw him do that against Alabama with that step back 3. Like it's not stuff that he can't do. It's just stuff that he's refusing to do at times.
Yeah.
And I think Cal was yelling at him during the game about taking those shots.
Really, he's tired as hell.
Yeah, and he is.
I can't blame the kid. He's wore the hell out.
It's something that, we talked about it, like the fatigue from the amount of minutes they played. I think he's averaged 39 minutes a game the previous 10 games going into this game. So that takes a toll on your body.
Right.
And also
legs.
Let's remember he's just as close to 30 as he is 20.
Right.
I think, because I think he's 25.
If
he's not 25, he will be 20. If he's not 25, he'll be 25 soon.
Yeah, he's 24. All
right. So that when you start getting hit in your mid 20s, it's not as bad once you start hitting your mid 30s and 40s.
Right, right.
But you still do take a little bit more time to recover than you do when you're 18 or 20 years old.
Right.
So those minutes are going to take a toll on his body, especially, like I said, playing in the SEC, as physical as the SEC is, and as athletic as those players are you're going against. It's not like playing in the Atlantic 10 like he did with Davidson. Or I think that's the conference they're in, or the whatever.
Right.
Whatever mid-major conference they're in. It's not like playing in that conference against that level of competition.
Right.
You're not going to have the same physicality, the same athletes. So playing 39 minutes a game in the SEC is different than playing 39 minutes a game at Davidson. And, I had a dude on Facebook say, Facebook, say these kids are playing 8 to 9 AAU games a day. There's no way they're tired. I was like, are you really comparing AAU to high-level Division I basketball? I mean, and that's all I need to know about you. If you're doing that, and that's all I need to know about your basketball knowledge.
Right.
Because I mean, what are they play 8-minute quarters in AAU because it's still high school basketball?
Wildness. It's wild out there. But let me give some stats real quick. Kentucky versus Arkansas. Of course, Kentucky falls 75-73. Kentucky shot 30 of 66 from the field, 4 of 15 from 3. Severe Willer, by the way, let me just point that out. 9 of 13 from the free throw line. And of course, another game where we out rebounded the team 39-32. Also in the LSU game, we had 12 turnovers, as well as in the Arkansas game, we had 12 turnovers. That hurt.
Right.
But a lot of people complaining you don't want Severe shooting these threes. And I get that.
But it was 2 for 2.
But once again, he hit a couple, and because people were saying that earlier in the year, and he was the one that hit the threes.
Right. He started out the year.
I get that.
Right.
You guys have drawn up plays, and you know who you want taking the shots. I understand that completely. Comedy. But that's
but you don't always get what you want. Shit in one hand, wish in the other, see which one fills up first.
Bam. There you have it.
I mean, that's essentially what it is, because you're wishing for a shot or a certain player to get a shot. It doesn't necessarily always work out that way. So
Kentucky did fall 75-73. How bad did this hurt us? Because a lot of people was like, "Oh God, what now?"
Look at Ken Palm. Look at the net rankings. Look at Joe Lenardi's bracketology that came out last night or this morning.
Right.
It didn't hurt Kentucky at all. I told my dad. I told him before the game, like in the first half of that game, we were the number 1 2 seed when that game started. If we lose this game, we're going to flip-flop and we'll be the number 2 seed is what's going to happen. And that's what happened. We dropped down to the number 2 seed, number 2 seed. Auburn's the number 1 2 seed. Baylor moved up to the 1 line. And then Duke and Purdue flip-flopped.
Right.
So it's nothing really changed at all because we're still paired up. I think now we're paired up with Kansas. So it was all doom and gloom and the sky was falling. Now
the ass has fallen out.
If you look at the SEC tournament and you look at your seeds, is it the best to be the number 3 seed? No, because of timing. Because what time those games are played. You play the late game Friday night and you play the early game the next day.
Right. So this is where I'm at with that, though. It's the SEC tournament.
Yeah, as long as we win our 2 games, like we still have a chance.
Bro, I think
I'll be a very small chance
and go rest.
It'll be a very small chance, but we still got a chance to win the SEC.
Right.
We just got to win our 2 games. Arkansas and Tennessee each have to lose a game, and then Auburn's got to lose out. I don't think Auburn's losing out because they're playing Mississippi State and they're playing South Carolina. Mississippi State's on the road, though. Yeah. So you never know what's going to happen there with Auburn. But Tennessee and Arkansas, one of them's losing Saturday because they play each other.
Right.
I don't know who they got outside of that as far as their schedule goes and who they're playing. But it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for one of those teams to lose 2 games, So we're either going to be the 1, 2, 3, or 4 seed in the SEC tournament. We got the double bye. If we're the 4 seed and say and Auburn's
tournament,
if we're the 4 seed and Auburn's the 1 seed, we get them in the semifinals. We don't have to wait till the finals to beat their ass.
Right.
We get to play them in the semifinals and stop them from even getting to the finals.
Right.
So I think if you're rooting for a seed in the SEC tournament, you're not rooting for the 3 seed just because of the times that you play the game. You got that short turnaround between games. But I don't think it ultimately matters because this team has shown the ability this year to overcome obstacles put in their way, whether it's injuries or getting down early in the first half or whatever. They've shown the ability to shut out that stuff and make the plays that they need to make to win games.
Right. So up next, Ole Miss Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN.
Yep, senior night. So if you don't have tickets, if you have the ability to go, pack the arena for Grady and Mintz for their senior night.
Right.
Because they deserve it.
Right. And always, next man up, be ready. Be ready for your chance. That's where we are. So you know what time it is.
Mm-hmm.
Except we're going to skip the dumbest shit.
We're doing something a little different today.
We're going to skip the dumbest shit from Twitter this week and give some love.
Yeah.
Show some love. As you heard in the beginning, Girls Beer Sports promo, check them out, give them a listen, follow on all social media platforms. Great podcast. And Carrie, she's been podcasting a little longer than I have, or we have. And I've learned a lot of stuff.
You've been podcasting a lot longer than I have. I haven't even been doing it for a year yet.
A lot of stuff. So give them a shout out to them, Girls Beer Sports. Great podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Also, check this out.
Religiously Kentucky. This is Vinny Hardy, host of the Believe in Kentucky podcast. Y'all can follow the show on the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook, and the TikTok at Believe in Kentucky, BLEAV in Kentucky. Y'all are doing y'all's thing on here. Great stuff. Big time guests. Keep grinding, baby. We enjoyed it. Been hosted alongside Terry T.B. Brown, almost 8 years now, Cats Talk Wednesday. Y'all can follow us at Cats Talk Wednesday, Cats Talk WED on Twitter and Facebook. Follow TV at tbrown_80. Follow me at Vinny Hardy, Vinny with a Y, Hardy with a Y. Hey, y'all keep doing y'all's thing. We enjoying it. Definitely appreciate the love.
Vinny Hardy with Cats Talk Wednesday and Believe in Kentucky.
Yep.
Give them a follow with Terry Brown.
TB. Those are two guys that have been supporting us since the beginning. So
right,
absolutely.
Definitely follow them. And I would have some more of those sound bites promos, but
Sack dropped the ball.
Come on, man, get with it. But great podcast, Matt Sack,
Courtside Connect,
Courtside Connect,
Cats coverage, Bradley's basketball banner. I think it's Bradley_270 or something like that on Twitter. Yeah. So if you're listening to podcasts, go listen to those guys. Beers and Buckets with Connor Caldwell.
Right.
I think.
Yep. Beers and
Buckets. So
love the podcast. Check the podcast. All these podcasts are easy to find. Beers and Buckets.
Girls Beer Sports. Is that what you're
Girls
thinking
Beer
of?
Sports.
Yeah.
Cats Talk Wednesday. Believe in Kentucky. Courtside Connect.
Yep.
A lot of great
Cat Scam podcasts when they put one out. Listen to those guys.
Right.
Kaylin Harris and Travis Graff, they do great stuff.
Sources say.
Sean Smith, Kentucky Daily. Jack Pilgrim on Sources Say with Sean Smith.
Right, man. There is so much content and great podcasts out there to listen to, man.
Yeah.
Show some love. Share, rate, and review. That's what you do this week, man. Show somebody some love. Share, rate, review. It only takes a few seconds to do so.
Yeah. And then we got the regulars, Michelle, listening to us, always bugging Jay to get that podcast out quick.
Yeah, definitely shout out to Michelle. Cheers to her.
Yeah. We need to buy her a
Scott?
martini next time she's in Lexington. If she ever comes back now that she's in Milwaukee or Wisconsin and Arizona. All over the place.
Yeah.
Arizona Terry, he's been huge. Scott with the recaps that he puts out.
Yeah.
That's been huge. There's so many of you guys out there that support us without having a list. I'm not going to mention any more names because I don't want to forget anybody. But we appreciate all of you supporting and listening to us and giving us feedback and liking what we're doing.
Yes, definitely. And check, like I said, check these podcasts out, man. Bradley's, what is it, basketball banner?
Bradley's basketball banner. Yep.
I listen to all these. I listen to so many, like I forget names. So I just have them in my queue, like
right. And they just play
like
next.
most of the time it's on Spotify, and I just they just play, and I check them out every time. Courtside Connect, Matt Sack out there doing a damn thing.
You know, it's been an eventful almost year doing this.
Right.
You know, and it's been fun. And the only reason we've been able to do this is because of guys out there supporting us on Twitter and Facebook and listening to the show and telling us what they like, that they like what we're doing, and retweeting retweeting the episodes for us, when Jay puts those out. We've had a couple of run-ins, really just one.
Right. We do get some hate.
Yeah.
But don't put dumb shit on Twitter. You won't get called out. And that segment will be back next week. Great guest coming on next week as well.
Yep.
But yeah, man. I also want to give a shout out to Rave On Sports app.
Yep.
They've hit us up, want us to host, and we haven't been able to yet because schedule and my schedule are crazy.
Right.
So hopefully one day we'll get around to that. But if you don't have that app, check that app out as well, man. Rave On Sports app. It's
and there could be some exciting things coming for us too. So keep listening for that.
Yeah, we're getting a lot. We're getting some sponsorship people like hitting us up.
Yeah, we got some stuff that may be working. So keep listening. If that happens, you'll hear it on here. So I was surprised to get that email the other day. So
right,
we'll see what's going on with that.
What if we get one from like Hustler Hollywood or something like that?
I think we're pretty much kind of a family, or I know we drop some F-bombs and stuff like that, but I think promoting the Hustler Club might be a little bit,
right,
going a little bit too far.
But you never know, man.
Never know.
Yeah, that's where we're at. Screaming, go Big Blue, always, man, religiously.
You good over there?
That's where we're at. But shout out to all those folks, man. And like I said, next week we'll be back with the dumbest shit from Twitter this week. Go show those podcasts love.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you follow us, we retweet most of them. So whenever we see them put it out on the timeline, they get retweeted by us. So they're definitely a good listen.
Definitely. So go Big Blue. I'm your guy, Jay Hayes, and he is
JD Hall.
And we are Religiously Kentucky.
This was another episode of Religiously Kentucky.
It was great. Thanks for the hospitality.
If you liked this episode, make sure to give us a like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes and our opinionated take on the world of Kentucky sports. Religiously Kentucky.